Disrespectful for Crawford to call you out at 68, say that he can beat you at this weight?
No, everybody wants to fight with me, so it's fine.
That being biggest fight possible in boxing, is that something you'd actually be interested in?
It's crazy when you asking about that, because you say, your matchup is coming out of the other weight classes, and that's it, and he's welterweight, so don't make sense. But if the fight made sense, why not?
A lot of people have him at #1 pound for pound. You think that's fair to you?
It's a few people there who deserve to be the #1 pound for pound, and it's fine.
Canelo Alvarez has responded to Terence Crawford's recent training footage, which showcases the welterweight champion pushing his limits in preparation for a potential showdown. Crawford, known for his technical mastery, appears to be ramping up his strength and conditioning, incorporating weightlifting and resistance exercises to boost his power and endurance. Additionally, he's fine-tuning his punching technique through intense heavy bag sessions, working on speed and precision, key elements for taking on a bigger, stronger opponent like Canelo. With both fighters locked in serious preparation, fans are eager to see how Canelo views Crawford's evolving approach and whether he considers it a legitimate threat to his dominance.
Terence Crawford is a great fighter, he's a good fighter, but like I say, he's weight classes for a reason.
It's business, it's the office. I enjoy it because this is what I love to do.
Now, skill-wise, I think Crawford's a better skilled fighter.
I understand, Canelo is bigger than me and whatnot, but I'm up for the challenge.
The anticipation for a potential showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford has been intensifying, especially with reports of significant financial incentives from Saudi boxing promoter Turki Al-Sheikh to bring this bout to fruition. Both fighters reportedly met privately in London last month to discuss terms, aiming for a September 2025 clash during Mexico's Independence Day weekend in Las Vegas. This matchup has garnered widespread attention, as it would see Crawford moving up 2 weight classes to challenge Alvarez for his unified super middleweight titles. Such a fight not only promises substantial financial rewards but also holds significant implications for both fighters' legacies. Fans and analysts alike are eager to see how Crawford's technical prowess matches up against Alvarez's power and experience in the super middleweight division. However, the path to this mega fight has seen its share of complications. At one point, Alvarez was in advanced talks for a bout with YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul, which led to the temporary suspension of negotiations with Crawford. This decision faced backlash from fans and professionals within the boxing community. Ultimately, Alvarez signed a 4-fight deal with Riyadh Season, backed by Al-Sheikh, which realigned the focus towards the Crawford matchup. As of now, both camps are reportedly finalizing the details for a September 13, 2025, bout at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. This event is poised to be one of the most significant boxing matches in recent history, with fans eagerly awaiting official confirmation and further details.
Forward past Saturday, but do you feel like a fight like Terence Crawford, I see he wants to fight, he's made it clear. Do fights like that help your legacy, or do you feel like that's something that's not worth it to you?
Everything in my career, every fight make my legacy different and better, Terence Crawford is a great fighter, he's a good fighter, but like I say, he's weight classes for a reason. I'm focused 100% on Berlanga, and then you never know what happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, the weight jump is one of the biggest hurdles for Terence Crawford in this potential fight. Moving up from 147 pounds, welterweight, to 168 pounds, super middleweight, is a massive leap, especially against someone as experienced and powerful as Canelo Alvarez. While Crawford has already tested the waters at 154 pounds, 168 is an entirely different challenge. Canelo isn't just a natural super middleweight. He has fought as high as 175 pounds, light heavyweight, and held his own against bigger, stronger opponents like Sergey Kovalev and Dmitry Bivol. His ability to absorb punches from naturally larger fighters and deliver devastating power shots could make it difficult for Crawford to impose his usual dominance. Key concerns for Crawford. 1. Size and strength disadvantage. Canelo has been fighting at 168 for years and is filled out naturally, while Crawford would need to bulk up without compromising his speed and agility. 2. Power difference. Canelo has knocked out naturally bigger fighters, while Crawford's power has been effective at lower weights but remains untested at 168. 3. Endurance and durability. Carrying extra weight could affect Crawford's stamina and movement, which are crucial to his style. 4. Canelo's body shots. A signature weapon of Canelo's, his body punching could take a serious toll on Crawford, especially if the added weight slows his defensive movement. Why Crawford still has a shot. 1. Superior ring IQ. Few fighters adapt as well as Crawford. He can make adjustments mid-fight and break down opponents systematically. 2. Speed and footwork. If he can maintain his agility while adding weight, he could frustrate Canelo and pick his shots effectively. 3. Defensive skills. Unlike some of Canelo's past opponents, Crawford's defense and counterpunching could prevent Canelo from dictating the pace. 4. Motivation and legacy. Crawford thrives in high-stakes fights. If he pulls off the upset, it would be one of the greatest victories in boxing history. Ultimately, this fight is a high-risk, high-reward *** move for Crawford. If he can successfully handle the weight jump and neutralize Canelo's power, he could pull off a monumental upset. But if the weight difference proves too much, he could face a tough night against a fighter who has dominated the 168 pounds division for years. Do you think Crawford's skill can overcome the size gap, or is this too big of a challenge?
Chance there, right? We'll see, but always is a chance there, and we're here to make the best deals, and always a chance.
And I do have to ask you about Dimitri Bivol, because that's a rematch you've always talked about wanting. How do you see the rematch going with Bivol and Beterbiev?
I think it's going to be another good fight. It's going to be another good fight. Both fighters are good fighters, so I think both have a chance to win. Like the first one was a really good fight.
So whatever is next, we look forward to it, my friend. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Are you tired of people asking you about Terence yet?
No, look, I always say, I respect Terence Crawford. He's a very talented fighter, but he just win one big fight. If you see his record, he just beat one good fighter like Errol Spence is.
Yes.
But other than that, I don't think he's beating other great fighter like Spence. He did a really good job with the Spence. He did almost look very easy. But I knew Terence Crawford is a great fighter. But you never know in boxing.
Canelo's comments about weight classes and Crawford's resume definitely add fuel to the fire. He's not wrong in pointing out that Crawford is naturally much smaller. Canelo himself moved up gradually over time, whereas Crawford would be making a massive jump from 147 to 168 pounds in one go. As for Canelo's critique of Crawford's record, that's a hot debate in the boxing world. Canelo argues that Errol Spence Jr. is the only truly great fighter Crawford has beaten, implying that his resume lacks depth. While Crawford has dominated multiple weight classes, some critics argue he hasn't faced as many elite-level opponents as Canelo, who has fought names like Floyd Mayweather, Gennady Golovkin, Sergey Kovalev, Dimitri Bivol, Miguel Cotto, and Caleb Plant. However, Crawford clapped back on social media, likely pointing out that Canelo himself has had questionable fights, including facing faded or less dangerous opponents at times. Many fans would argue that Crawford's skill set is so high that he makes good fighters look average, a sign of greatness rather than a weak resume. At the end of the day, Canelo's stance seems to suggest he's not eager to face Crawford, possibly because he sees it as a lose-lose situation. If he wins, critics will say he was too big. If he struggles or loses, it could damage his legacy. Meanwhile, for Crawford, this fight is a huge risk but also a massive opportunity to silence any remaining doubters. What do you think? Is Canelo downplaying Crawford's achievements to protect his own status, or does he have a point about weight classes and resume strength?
Saul, Mike Arnal, how are you? Quick question. I know. As we walk, Canelo, how important is it that you've spoke with Turki Al-Sheikh?
Say again, please.
How important for you is it that you've spoke to Turki Al-Sheikh, and what did you speak about?
Look, I like to work with everybody. I'm a free agent, and I like to work with everybody. And I like to have the doors open.
Are we going to see Canelo Crawford next?
We'll see. It's a possibility there always. No, we'll see what happens.
Have you spoke with Turkey about that show?
Yeah,
about Canelo?
we know each other. We don't talk that much for make a deal and anything, but we already we now know each other, and we'll see what happens.
Last one, I know you're pushed for time. Benavidez Morel, who wins?
It's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a good fight. 50-50 fight.
Canelo, thank you for that.
That's a big shift from Canelo. Initially, he seemed dismissive of the idea, but now, with the financial backing from Saudi promoters and the hype building, he's more open to it. This shows that, at the end of the day, money talks in boxing. While Canelo still sees the fight as a risky mismatch due to size, he knows the financial incentives could make it worth his while. If the business side makes sense, he's willing to entertain it, especially given how Saudi Arabia has been shaking up the boxing world with massive paydays. This also suggests that Crawford is making enough noisito keep himself in the conversation. If the fight does happen, it could be one of the biggest pay-per-view events in years, even with the weight concerns. Do you think Canelo is genuinely interested now, or is he just playing the business game and keeping his options open?
To be honest, when Crawford fought Madrimov, he had his hands full, especially early in the fight. Now, I give props to Crawford because Crawford is the type of fighter where he does have like a chip on his shoulder and a willingness to win. He has drive, and if you tell him step it up, the rounds are too close, you're going to get a dedicated Crawford. So he is a true fighter, a true champion, all that. The biggest gripe I have with the fight is the weight. You guys could try to spin it and say I hate this guy or that guy. I don't really care. What do I look like being a true alpha and being bothered by what people say? I don't care. I'm telling you my opinion. And my opinion is not going to change because I know you guys can't change it. I've said the same thing, and not one time have I heard one of the Bud Buddies offer a solution to the arguments that I've brought up. Crawford is good, but so is Canelo. If they were naturally the same size, which they're not, Crawford is probably maybe a little bit taller, but I'm talking about mass.
Guys, we know the fighters know the intel before the news gets released to the public. King Ryan was asked about Canelo Crawford. He not only says he can't believe they got that fight done, meaning that that's a done deal. We obviously knew that, but he also gives you who he thinks wins that fight, Canelo or Crawford. Do you agree with Ryan Garcia?
Right. What about Canelo and Crawford? What do you think?
That's going to be a great fight, too. I can't believe they made that happen. Turkey's been making a lot of great fights happen. You can't really hate on it. But I'm excited for that. I know Canelo is so big, so strong, and I think he'll be just too big. I mean, weight classes matter for a reason.
Last question, Ali. The split in opinions is interesting because it reflects the classic skill versus size debate. Ryan Garcia siding with Canelo's power and size makes sense. After all, Canelo has dominated bigger fighters, while Crawford would be moving up to an entirely new weight class. On the other hand, someone like Stephen A. Smith questioning Crawford's ability to withstand Canelo's pressure also raises a valid concern. Canelo wears down opponents over time, and Crawford has never dealt with someone of that level in terms of sheer strength and durability. However, Crawford's technical brilliance can't be overlooked. His footwork, defense, and counterpunching could pose serious problems for Canelo, especially if he can control the pace and avoid getting trapped. The key question is, can he take Canelo's power for 12 rounds? Do you think Crawford's IQ and skills would be enough to overcome the size gap, or is this just too big of a leap?
I've read somewhere that Canelo has shortlisted Crawford for the May fight, his fight in May. Dan, what's happening?
Yeah, listen, I think it's just a fluid situation. I don't think there's anything definitive one way or the other at this point. I mean, it's not a secret that that's a fight that's been discussed by a lot of us and by a lot of people in the sport for quite a while. Certainly, it's a fight that Turki Al-Sheikh from Saudi Arabia has shown a lot of interest in. And, of course, if it's going to get made, someone's going to have to put up a lot of guaranteed money, and he's probably the person that's going to do it. He's obviously been working closely with Terence Crawford. He was involved with Terence Crawford's last fight that took place in August when he fought Israel Madrimov. It's obviously a fight that Terence Crawford has been very vocal about wanting. Now, Canelo hasn't ever said he wanted the fight, kind of downplayed it to a certain degree. But it wasn't that long ago. I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago, he was doing an appearance, and he was asked about it, and he didn't close the door on it. In the past, he sort of like closed the door on it and was like, I'm not interested. He's like, listen, I'll talk to anybody and listen to what they have to say about the deal, any kind of deal. So in my mind, that sort of at least cracked open the door to have the conversation. Like, he wasn't just saying, forget it, in terms of working with Turkey or anybody else. So I think that Canelo is a smart person in terms of his boxing, but also in terms of his business. And when he looks around at the landscape and he wants to make a huge amount of money, like all top fighters or any fighter for that matter, and he looks and sees, who can I fight where I can make the biggest score, you know.
Yeah, the business side of things is a huge factor here. With Saudi money in the mix and a potential Mexican Independence Day weekend date in Las Vegas, this fight could be a blockbuster event. Even though the size difference is a major concern, Crawford's name value and undefeated record make it a compelling matchup. The real question is whether Crawford can hurt Canelo, because if he can't, it's going to be a long, punishing night. Canelo has taken shots from guys like GGG, Bivol, and Kovalev, and none of them could really break him down. Crawford's best bet would be a hit-and-don't-get-hit approach, but against Canelo's pressure and body shots ***, that's easier said than done. What do you think? Does Crawford have the power to keep Canelo honest, or is he biting off more than he can chew?
Speaking of Canelo, it looks very possible he'll fight Crawford in May. What would you think of that matchup, Canelo and Crawford?
You know what, I think my initial reaction would be to say that I think that Crawford would be the superior boxer, as great as Canelo is, as seasoned as he is, with 65 fights, if I recall, on his record. He's phenomenal. But Crawford is something special. I think that he's a better pure boxer. I think boxing-wise, he's going to give Canelo fits. My concern is that he won't hurt Canelo. And if he doesn't hurt Canelo and can't hurt Canelo, then Canelo keeps coming. Similar to how he stalked Charlo, how he stalked, once he had Plant hurt, he chased after him. Canelo is a very powerful individual who can get exposed by a boxer, because every shot he throws, he's trying to make it a power shot. But to me, can Crawford hurt him? I would pick Crawford to win if he can box and stay away. I don't believe he can hurt Canelo. And if Canelo catches him, it could be trouble. But I would still say it would be a very interesting fight. I just believe that Crawford hasn't been in the ring with anybody this powerful. And I'm wondering whether he could stay away. Again, Crawford is the superior boxer.